Hi everyone, I'm Aisha. So as Amelia already kind of did a brief intro, so I'm a certified nutritional therapist. So I specialize in skin health, in gut health, and as it says, hormone health. And then over the past year or year and a half, I started introducing functional testing into my practice because that's when I started to see a huge difference in helping my clients. So I usually specialize initially, I started helping mainly women, but most recently in the past 12 months, I've been helping more men. So just basically getting to the root cause of their health issues and just helping them rebalance their bodies, regain their overall well-being and improving their mindset. So I see lots of different cases. Usually I do my consultations online and I use my social media platform to help gain a clientele and also to attract audience in my specialism. So I tend to get people reaching out and asking about what I do and how I can help them, and then we kind of go forward from there. And over the past, since I've been practicing for the last 4 years, I've really started to see a change in trying to improve social media to help me get to where I am today. And just over to B now.
Okay, so I'm B, even though my name is Birute, but I call myself B, it's just easier. So I'm a nutritional therapist and I specialize in good health, also in health anxiety, in anxiety in general, and how to optimize your health. So these are like three main things where I like to work the most with. But at the same time, I also see families and children and make sure that we create healthy habits for life. Very often I use functional testing in my practice because I found that this really helps to get to the root cause of the issues they're experiencing. And for example, when we're trying to optimize someone's health, the testing can really help us see things what we normally wouldn't get symptomatically, because there's no really symptoms if you're feeling okay, but if you want to feel great, there's areas to work on. So that's how I started working with functional testing, and it absolutely transformed my practice. So we got asked to do this webinar for that reason, I think. Okay, that's about it about myself.
So just wanted to introduce you all about me, and well, as B said, her name is Birute, but I call her B, I can't call her Birute. So just with me and B. So just to go back into how we started working together, that's actually quite broad, but I'll try and keep it as simplified as I can. So I'm from Liverpool and I was born and raised there. So I was just literally on Instagram one day about, how long ago was it? About 3 years?
Years ago now.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years. So, and I saw just coming across suggestions and people that you follow and people in common. I saw B's page in the same area. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm going to just reach out to her. Why not? So I reached out to her and then we just started communicating via Instagram. And then we realized that we both studied at C&M, both did nutritional therapy, but I think B graduated a year after me. And then ever since that time, yeah, sorry, B. So ever since that time, we just literally created a bond, and then we had so much in common with the way we work, our business mindset, just our skills that we have. And we thought, why not try and help each other out to improve our current skills and just try and, use social media to bring and create a business. And that's what we did. So we just, were on the phone all the time. We were trying to make a plan of action, what we can do moving forward. And then here we are today, just now people ask us on Instagram, how do I build a following? How do I do this? And like they said, doing this webinar, we want to educate you and, give you that advice that we've gone through. And you know what, all in all, I think it has been, fingers crossed, quite successful to where we are today, to try and really help boost our platform to gain a good following and also to just help as many people as possible.
I think a lot of the time when you finish the college or you finish your studies and you think like, oh wow, I'm going to be a nutritionist, I'm going to do this, that and the other, but it's quite isolating place because you're on your own. So you're lost, you learn, you've got all your credentials, you know everything about, nutrition, you're ready to share this advice, but then there's no one to bounce the ideas with. There's no one to just like talk. Sometimes, you know, some days are much harder than others, and sometimes there's joyful moments you want to share, and you're literally on your own. So at the time, I think we both were like, I maybe had 1,000 followers. Aisha probably had about 3,000 when we met, but we had the same idea. We sort of wanted to do big things. We wanted to help people. We wanted to make sure that we are going to make it in the nutrition world, and the passion what we both share sort of led us to the way with the way we started to work. We started to share, okay, what do you think, does that work well, or this is going to not work? And then, oh, you know what, I've done this post and it's done really well, had loads of engagement, why don't you try to do similar? So we started sharing these ideas, and one time we were in the park walking around, and then I said, you know, Aisha, I have this big dream. I really want to do, so I really want to bring functional testing into my practice. I just want to really show how important it is to get to the root cause and actually test, because we can bring science together with nutrition. And she was like, yeah, that's a brilliant idea, let's do this. And like, yeah, let's do this, but it's like expensive, who's going to buy these tests?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was just about to say, I said to B, I said, there's no way anyone's going to buy tests. It's not possible.
Yeah,
but
it's like people in Calderstones Park, there's like, you know, after COVID, people have no money, who's going to buy it? But we had this, like, you know, this idea, no, there has to be a way, we're just going to have to make it work.
Yeah,
and then
we put our heads together and figured out, okay, how can we help and make people aware about the importance of testing and why, and that's obviously going to be spoken about more about tomorrow in tomorrow's webinar. But just moving on to the next slide. So
we decided that we really need to make like sure that we're gonna, if we want to sell a test, just after COVID, don't forget, you know, the times where like people just were still quite a lot online, weren't they? It wasn't like you can do the talks, you know, in the Liverpool especially. I actually love Liverpool very much, but it's not the London where, you know, everything's happening and there's loads of help shops and you can try and find these areas where to advertise yourself. So we just went all in with social media. You can carry on.
So just talking a bit now, just going deep into like social media and just pointing out what's important. So just starting with variety. So when it comes to posting on Instagram, again, now we're going to talk about our own and what we feel, what worked for us. So everyone probably has their own approach to this, but this is what we realized when we worked together to figure out, okay, so having a variety when using reels, static posts and carousels, it was always really important to alternate them. So you wouldn't just consistently keep posting reels. You would do, like, for example, a minimum of 3 posts a week, whether it's 1 reel, 1 static post and 1 carousel. What we found by doing that was it brought about a lot of engagement. And then just kind of in the posts as well, in the captions especially, which we will talk about tomorrow properly in more detail, is just to mention like pain points and making people understand that, okay, I have this issue, I want to address it, how do I approach this? And then carousels themselves, they tend to talk about more in detail about a particular issue or condition, so people get to understand, because they like to swipe. So doing that and then interacting with the followers as well is when people comment on posts and they ask questions on that. It's always really important to either tell them that you're going to send them a DM, so you reply to them by the DM if it's quite a private thing, or you would comment back, so you keep that flow going.
Yeah, and in general, it's really important to interact with your followers, because when you build your following, it's not so much how many followers you have, but how interactive they are. So if they're just, you know, can't use this word, but probably dead followers, which never interact with your post, never watch your stories, they just they're creating, like, you know, taking the space but not really doing anything or buying from you, it's not really that, you know, much of a point to have them in general. So making sure that you speak to them. If someone sends you a message to ask any question, just, you don't really need to go out your way to answer fully, but just like make sure that you talk to them, that they feel heard, and then more than likely they will be interacting with your posts, liking your stories, you know, and making sure that they are alive and making your page look like it's living. And yeah, I think that's really important. And then following
Yeah,
the
and then
relevant.
just,
Yeah, go on.
yeah, sorry, I'll let you do that one.
Okay, so following the relevant accounts, it's also very important. So the last point is about not using for a personal use. So if you want to make an account which is going to be selling and people are going to be coming to you to, for an advice and, creating that social media business account and not personal one. So it's really important to separate that. So when you create a business account, you need to make sure that you follow relevant accounts which are related to nutrition, and you're not just watching for personal content, because that's the way the algorithm works in general, is that when you're following other nutrition related accounts, it's more than likely you're going to be shown to other nutrition accounts. And then if you comment on the other nutritional accounts, then more than likely people who are interested in the same are going to be seeing your comments and then maybe clicking on your on your page and then interacting with your content more as well. So building that relationship, similar to what you would build a relationship in real world, talking to people, just talking with them online, and then creating that like little social bubble, if I can call so.
Instagram friends, as we call them.
Instagram friends, yeah, they are Instagram friends, definitely. Sometimes even tagging them in the story and say, oh, my Instagram friend said, read this book, or just sharing that constantly, making sure that you share and interact, because social media in general, it is like to connect people, isn't it? It's not to make you feel like you're the only one and you're like this. I know there's a lot of advice saying, oh, just show that you are an expert, but social media is there to connect people. So if you're like, you need to show your personality and just be approachable, so people want to work with you rather than you just everything better than others. That is quite, it can push people away.
Yeah, so just moving on to the next slide.
What about stories? We didn't speak about stories though, did we?
Oh, sorry.
Can you go back, please?
In stories, so with stories, so again, with people think that posting like 10 stories a day, for example, is ideal, but then what happens with that is it kind of brings your engagement down. So I wouldn't just say post one, I'd say ideally post 3 stories, but kind of pace it through the day. So for example, do one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening, and then having things that are going to help people interact with your stories, like a sticker or a poll or a quiz. From our own experience, we find that people like to interact with stories that have a purpose. So you're either going to educate them, you're either going to play a little game with them by doing a quiz, or just
the quiz
sorry.
The quizzes are really popular, sorry.
Yeah, the quizzes get loads of engagement from what we know and what we've worked with, and also just making sure, and even just maybe like a bit of story, like a story about yourself, for example. So yeah, like as you said, be like, yeah, it's not to be used for personal use, but sometimes to put a bit of a personal touch here and there.
Yeah, personal touch, yeah, but not like go and watch, what kind of shoes I should buy, or, what's trending now. And, it's just like separating them things where it is a business account and it should be about you. But, when you go and use a personal account more so for the personal things, but with a business account, just use, I just don't know what I'm trying to say. Use it like a tool to, to grow your business. That's what I mean. And then also about the stories, when you post on stories, you can actually go and see how people interact in it. So following what people normally more interact, posting that kind of story. So it's like seeing what people like and doing more of it, rather than just doing anything you want. More looking into what people actually like, what they're more interested, what they feel like they get more benefits from. So that will help you grow your page, because when you know what your people like, then it's easier to give them what they want. And then obviously you can at the same time grow your practice towards that thing. So that's how with social media, at first we were quite scared, share the functional testing, but now it seems like the more we share about the functional testing, people get really interested and they ask a lot of questions. So the page is sort of changing. So not to be scared to change the page towards what people actually like as well is a good idea, I think.
And I just wanted to say one more thing as well, like when you've got a business account, to monitor your professional dashboard is really important, because that's where you check your insights, and then you can check followers, you can check accounts reached, you can check engagement. And again, when you go deeper into that, you can also see, again, like you said, insights of what posts or what stories are done well. So you know then what your followers like, and then you can, you know, add post more of it, or yeah, just have a variety is obviously the key to everything.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like building a relationship like you would build with anyone else in real life. The same goes on social media. To have a platform which is successful is like doing things what people get engaged in rather than just always doing what you want. There's a mix between doing what you want and actually doing what people feel like, you know, they get more benefits from. So just finding that balance, I think, really helps, where we're quite good at.
Which takes us on to consistency now as well. So again, this is sometimes, you know, oh gosh, I don't even know how to say this, but there's times when you have so much work on, like clients to see what protocols, getting test results back, that sometimes it's like, how do I prioritize time to post, whether it's even just a story like that in itself. Like the way me and B are, we literally like sometimes on the phone, or what can we post today, what's going to do well, and then we like kind of compare each other's views and things like that, so we know where to push forward. So anyway, coming back to the consistency, yes, ideally, like I said on the previous slide, is that try and post 3 times a week, because you want to, again, with Instagram algorithm as well, that can also play up, and then your post, you might get shadow banned, you might not be seen. So just to make sure that you have that consistency with posting, that's how you'll realize that you will grow. But if you just post like once every, I don't know, once every 10 days.
Yeah, or once every 2 months, and expect, like, it doesn't mean that if your one post didn't do well, it can like hurt your ego. It does mine. You know, I think everyone knows that not getting many likes feels like, oh, maybe nobody likes me. But not forget that sometimes the algorithm won't push your posts or stories further, and then people just don't see your content. So not to get like, oh no, nobody likes me. Just make consistently like, okay, I'm posting is 3 days a week is, you know, what you can post, then okay, that's how many times you'll post. If it's even 2 days, you know, a week, or just like decide how many times you want to post a week and just stick to it no matter what. Like, you know that you have to stick to this, and this is your consistency, and then you're going to be posting on stories. Some people like, you know, to put the you know, make a strategy, like I will be posting about adrenals, for example, this week, or a month I'm focusing on endometriosis. This week I'm posting, you know, that, and just like having like a little strategy helps as well. Like we, some people like meal planning, so we can do the same with Instagram. We can sort of do content planning, and then you know what you're doing, and then you're keeping that consistency going, because when you're consistent, algorithm is going to favor you. People won't forget that you exist, and you're also, the more consistent you are, the better you understand what your followers like, and the better content you can share. I think you know, once you really decide that, okay, I'm doing Instagram is important and it's a priority, you just find that time every few days to post something and then interact with your followers, and you know, just make sure that you're consistent, basically.
And also just to point that as well is there's been times when I've planned my content in advance, and I know exactly what it is I'm posting, what day, what, like I try to do like a subject per week, and I feel like that really works for me. But when I don't plan it, that's when I start to get stressed, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't got anything prepared or anything to post. So just a really huge tip is try to plan your content in advance, even if it's 2 weeks in advance. But at least if you are caught up with seeing clients and doing consultations and doing plans, it's already quite a lot going on. But if you've got that prepared beforehand, then it's just a case of posting it, getting it out there, and making sure the caption is engaging at the same time.
Yeah, and being consistent, like, and having a friend who tells you, listen, you have to post. That's why Aisha tells me, you haven't posted in a few days, you have to get back on posting. That really helps. The support in general is, I think, so important, because social media can be quite isolating. So not to feel like, oh, nobody liked my post, or I only get like so many likes. Just consistency is still showing up, and like, okay, next post gonna be better, learning from the previous one, and just getting that better and better content.
But that's what happened when we first started. If you remember, we barely had any engagement. But as we realized okay, Instagram wants us to post and be consistent. We
I
did
think
that change.
anytime I post something about adrenals, people really like that. Like they really, they want to know more. Where I say, Aisha, why don't you post about adrenals? And her followers, they just don't like it, do they? So when she shares about the hormones or she goes about the gut health, that does better with her. And I think that's why our partnership works really well, because my followers like completely different things from her. So we're not like clashing about the clients. There's no competition or, my client's going to you or your client's going to me. There's never nothing of a such going on, isn't it? So there's enough space for everyone to find their clients. We've got so many people living in UK or worldwide that there's always going to be enough clients for everyone. But I think we're ready for the next slide now.
Yeah, wanted to move on.
We can. Okay, so do you want me to start or you want to talk about it?
You want to start? I don't mind.
Okay, so with the niche, so basically what we both started in as a skin nutritionist, where my journey was that I had rosacea, like, skin inflammation, and I had loads of pictures on my phone. So I thought that's going to be really good to share with people and then connect with them, because social media is about connecting and telling people your own story, like how you, overcome things. So I started with that, but then I shifted quite quickly, because as much as we're probably told by Instagram to tell that, we definitely need a niche, it's not always the case, because people will be contacting you, they will be seeing what you do, and they just want, okay, I want your help. So not to like, oh no, I'm not going to see you because I'm just dealing with acne is quite cruel, because sometimes people just, as a nutritional therapist, we probably are trained to, to work with all types of people, isn't it? Then we can sort of know about something more, but then we also can help people in general. So if it's a really complicated case, that's a different story. But sometimes people just come to me like they want to optimize their health, and I think that now I'm really good at doing this. However, I also see families with children, and I also work with people with health anxiety, and I work with people with gut health. So my page is about all of these things and, my general approach to health. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, and they just come to see me and they just like, love working with you as a person. So our social media we can use as a platform to connect with people. That would be my sort of experience.
Yeah, just a bit about me now. So as you mentioned, we both started off with skin. So I had really bad acne and eczema. That's how I got into nutrition and healing myself, etc. So I thought, because people resonate more when you share your own conditions and your own experience of what you've gone through. Because I thought, okay, well, now that I know that that's what I've gone through and I know what I've done to get myself to where I am now, I thought I'll start just with acne. But then I realized that, of course, with acne, there's so many things that start. It comes from the gut, it could be hormone related, it could be stress related. So I thought, well, I need to branch out a bit. So I think just going back, I must have started with skin for about 4 to 5 months. And as I started branching out into gut health, into hormones, into like just lifestyle habits that you can really like stress and think, people don't really know that how these are all interconnected behind. So once I started doing that, I realized that my page started to grow and people started to show more interest into what I do. And then that's how now I like to just talk about different conditions that I've worked with and just connecting them up and branching out that way. I felt like a niche for me wasn't, yeah, it started off probably, it was fine at the beginning, but then moving forward in order to really push my business, I thought that branching out was the right way forward for me, and it works. So.
Also, I wanted to mention, when we brought the functional testing in, it didn't kind of make sense to just do one thing, because people really love to test. They want to know what's wrong with them. And then once you test, it's like if the test comes back with different things, you sort of, how to work on them, but they're not necessarily like skin related. So I think once you do the start advertising for functional testing, it's sort of, you can really see anyone. So it's just like a mixture of things. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, but like you said, it does, because like the stool test, GIFX, or even metabolomics, it's got its own functionality. But with conditions that we both work with, especially with UB as well, with health, anxiety, adrenals, metabolomics you favour more. Whereas with me, I do a lot of GIFX, because yeah, just with skin, that I do get a lot of people anyway, but then branching out more, everything, pretty much a lot of conditions start in the gut, and I see so much from doing that now, because when I first started, I didn't have any kind of testing. As we spoke, I was so scared to talk about it, and people think like if I discuss testing, are people going to buy into my services? But the reality was that as I started to talk more about it, I realized that people actually do have an interest, but it's just been about enough.
Absolutely. I think that the people really want to know, and the functional testing, when we started, we were quite probably the first ones to really share that much about it. But then now it feels like people mostly contact us and they just want to test. Sometimes they just come to me and they say like, I have no problems, but I wanted this test.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, I think that's really amazing how much the nutrition world is changing. And you know, testing is obviously not for everyone, and not everyone has to test. People love that sort of thing, and I think using it to grow your practice is important. I think that's what we're going to speak more about tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. So just moving on to the next slide. Branding. Okay, this is actually my favorite one because B doesn't like Canva, so I'll talk about this one. Canva gives you anxiety, doesn't it? So anyway, I'll start this one off. So branding. So for me, like with branding anyway, I've been quite particular with my colors and just having something that people, when people see your post, for example, they know it's you. So when I first started off, I had greens and I had cream and I had a lot going on. And then because I didn't know that you should have like, you know, a color palette or a color, you know, like a particular type of a theme going, that's when I realized that, okay, Aisha, you need to change this now. This isn't working for you. So I started, I changed my branding. This was over a year ago, no, about 2 years ago actually. And then I realized that that started to create, people started to know from my post that it was me. So I had my own style, my own technique, like the way I used my elements and infographics and things like that. People kind of gauge with me a bit more. And then just recently in the last 3 months, I actually did a rebrand because I wanted to just upscale it a bit more and having good quality pictures as well. I know this is not really part of the branding, but I'm just saying like having good pictures really does bring people get to know you as well professionally on a professional level, and just using like color palettes and things like that that work for you and that kind of synchronizes. And it's also good to have it synchronized with your website because they both match. So you're not doing, so when people click your Instagram and then they click your website because you can have your link in the bio, people resonate more with that than having completely different colors either side. But B, do you want to just tell me what you're taking?
So grateful for Aisha because, you know, during our walks in the park, there was a lot of going on. So she was like, listen, you just have to find a color palette which suits you. That looks like a mess. So she was really like, you know, told me that I have to get on Canva. I need to start sharing the posts where I educate people. And then I slowly but surely started my relationship with Canva, which is not always a smooth path, but I do my best. So yeah, so creating like that pretty looking page does help because Instagram, it's all about visuals, isn't it? It doesn't have to be pitch perfect, but it does help when it's pretty. So our pages are totally different. If you go and have a look of how it looks, Aisha's, you know, she likes the static post. I add a lot of color in it, like with reels and sometimes pictures. So it's different kind of pages, but it works for me and it works for her. So finding your style is really important. You know, not always like, you know, copying someone or, you know, just literally like finding your own style. Like you will find your own style with your clothes, and it's the same with social media. If it looks pretty, it does help. And also not thinking like, oh, I'm an expert and everyone's going to think that I'm an expert. It's not really the case. It's connecting with people and then showing that you actually have that knowledge to help them is really important. So regarding the branding, creating a page which is relatable as well, when people look, oh yeah, like my really popular posts are about 10 signs, they always do really well. So when you look like, oh yeah, that looks like your post, Aisha says to me, and I go, oh no, that looks like your style, doesn't it? So we have that created that style of what, you know, suits us, and just following through with that, just making sure that not creating like totally different, posts, because usually people, what they know, they're more easier to, relate to again. So just like following what works and then creating more of it, that does really, I find, helps.
Yeah, and also just with fonts as well, I didn't touch on that, but fonts is really important because like if you see on my page, like with the fonts, it's good to have two different types. So one is a main heading at the body of the main, like static post, for example, and then you have a subheading. And when you change the font of the subheading, it kind of just distinguishes between what you're trying to say in the post. So it just kind of, I follow the same pattern in everything that I post, apart from a reel where I sometimes pick and choose depending if I like the font for that particular reel. But with my static posts and carousels, I literally follow the same. Like I said, I've just had it rebranded, so I've just changed it a little bit, but it doesn't look too different now than what it was before. But having the font that suits you, that you like, and it's readable.
Yeah, using it all the time, not just changing, 5 posts with one font and then going on to another. Just creating a clean looking Instagram does really help for a person. When you look at it, it's quite visual, isn't it? So you look at it and you don't feel like your eyes are hurting. So, not going like red mad and then, like yellows and all of them colors, which can actually be quite hard on your eye. So we both have quite, beige colors, don't we? Quite.
Keep it neutral and clean. And then logo. I use my logo more on my website, but having a good logo is just kind of dictates who you are. Like I use on my static post, I use like an element that I always use on every post, and that's just basically me. It just kind of defines who I am. So when I keep that the same, like, people just know that the post is mine. And I feel like just following that consistently, it does work really well. And the thing with Canva as well, whenever you make a post, everything is saved. So all you have to do is just change the content of the post, but everything is kind of ready made and done. So it doesn't actually take that much time when you're creating your post. It's kind of already done. So in that sense, it's quite. Sorry, B, what did you say?
I said just changing the information but sticking to the same looking posts. We're ready for the slide now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with the stories. I feel like I haven't spoken for a while. Okay, so why you should post stories is basically this is the best way to connect with your followers who are actually following your journey. So if posts are more, you can grow your audience with the posts and reels. Stories are where you connect with all and nourish your relationships with the people. So if you, let's say, want to share some like case studies or anything what relates to your work, stories are the great way. So I usually share quite openly my own journey, so I think that people can relate to that a lot. So for example, if I'm having any issues, I will share with my followers, and then they're going to say, oh yeah, I had that as well, I've been through this, and this creates a conversation. Sometimes I will share my food and people will ask for recipes. Sometimes it's going to be like I've done this and I feel like this product is really helping me. Just literally connecting with your followers, and it's also a great place to do the sales as well, because people will, the more you share about what you're doing, people will want the same thing. So it's sort of like advertising. Not too much, don't do that too much, because that can actually be quite off-putting if you're only putting the advertising there. But you can actually optimize your stories to do sales as well.
Yeah, and just in terms of like number, as I mentioned before, I'd say about 3 per day. I mean, of course, you can do more if you feel like you're doing like a series of stories to talk about something or to show transformations or whatever. But I think ideally, just to make sure that your reach and your views and your engagement stay to a good level, I'd say at least a minimum of 3 per day. And with highlights as well. Highlights. So for me, I love highlights because I get people whoever is visiting my account, they like to see the highlights, and they always tend to either comment on something that I posted like a year ago, and then like B said, it creates conversation. So there could be things in there that, you know, stand out to them and they think, oh, I like that, I want to ask about this. Like Q&As, for example, are really good to put in a highlight because people can see from like a while ago what questions that you get asked in Q&As. So that's what I like with highlights, is it just kind of, anyone that's visiting your page, it just gives them that time to just go through everything and see what resonates with them.
And also you can use highlights to like talk about, you know, your services basically. So something what is not changing is, for example, if you want to put your price list, or if you want to talk about your approach, and just keep it there so people, when they visit your page, they can go through it and go like, okay, I really want to work with this person because she's, you know, that's her approach, or his approach, if there's any men listening today. So, you know, you can really put everything in the highlights, what is really, really important for your page. But as posts go down, don't they? So these are just always stays there. And I think it's a great way to share the information, which doesn't really change, but it is important in the highlights. Don't make too many of them. Just stick to you know, 5, let's say. Don't do like 25 different ones, because the people, they have attention span at the moment, which is not very long.
And keep the names of highlights quite specific to what that highlight, because it only gives you a certain amount of letters that you can use as well. So just keep it quite specific to what the highlight is, and it definitely does work. Yeah, definitely does work.
Yeah. Okay, then the next slide.
Yeah, next slide, please.
Okay, so I genuinely don't know what I would do without Aisha, because sometimes it is, as I said at the start of the webinar, it's very isolating to work on your own. And then sometimes you're having a bad day and you feel like, I just want to pack this in. I can't do this anymore. Social media is not for me. I hate Canva. And then I ring Aisha and she says everything's going to be fine. And then tomorrow everything's fine. So I think when you actually can create that work environment for yourself where you feel the support, it's much easier to grow. It's just more enjoyable as well. So helping people is really nice and it's really enjoyable, but sometimes it can be hard because you just feel like you're listening all the time, but you're on your own. So having that support bubble and other people who are going exactly through the same, I think has really helped me grow the business. And I think, you know, I really don't know what I would do without you.
I know, I literally have tears in my eyes saying this, but I feel exactly the same with B. Like, oh God, like I think it was totally meant to be that we, like, I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for her. Like B has always been the one for me to push me when I'm like saying I can't do this, I can't do that. I literally say to her all the time, I can't. And she's like, no, Aisha, you can, just do it. You know it as well. So without oh God, I don't know what to do.
So support is so important, and like, you know, having this no competition, like me and Aisha, we really don't have the competition. It's quite the opposite. We push each other, like, okay, you know what, tomorrow's going to be a better day, let's start again. Like, oh, you need to post now, just make sure you're posting, get on Canva. And then having that conversation all the time. And I know that, you know, for people who live in like maybe London, where there's loads of like other practitioners, it's a bit different, but Liverpool, I don't know many nutritionists here. So finding that social, you know, a friend through social media was like a blessing. And, you know, when we finished the college or when we worked for years, it's isolating. So if you can find yourself a bestie and just, you know, have that conversation all the time, it does really help grow your business. Absolutely.
No, it does. And I think as well, like, so I forgot to mention that I obviously was living in the UK, which I don't anymore. And I think we bonded, we start our day having a chat with each other literally every morning. And we set our intention for the day, we set what we're going to do. We will say, oh, I've got 3 clients today, I'll tell her what I've got going on. And it's funny because we're both completely separate entities, separate businesses, but we work together like they're both, like we work together as if they're both joined. I can't really describe what I'm trying to say, but I'm just saying that the way we work is the way we've done programs together. We've done, you know, just things in the past that it's helped us build who we are, and just confidence is really important. And just like you said, B, just having a community of people, and like there's no unhealthy competition. We actually want each other to do well, regardless of what it is. So, and I think just having that person to kind of guide you and push you, I think is really, really important nowadays, because otherwise it can be really lonely.
Yeah,
So,
I think the first year when I was working without you was hard going. It was I just felt like I'm on my own. Like, does anyone even like me on social media? Or am I just posting for posting's sake? If you get less likes, then you sort of like, it damages your ego and you think, oh no, nobody actually wants to see my content. So it's a lonely place. But when you have someone there who can actually say to you, listen, it's all okay. It's just, not every post is going to do well, so it's fine. Just post, another thing and it's going to do well. And usually that's how it is. Certain posts are going to do better than others, and it's fine. It's just learning how to interact with your followers. But having that person who's always on your side and who's, no matter what's going on, is just like has your back, is, I think, for growing your business is really, really important. And then when you're managing challenging individuals as well, we all know that not every client case is going to be easy. So having that person whom you can trust really helps your mental state and clarity.
but it just helps as well, like knowing sometimes if there's something that I'm unsure of, I'll call B and say, have you ever worked with this particular condition? Or just getting like a bit of an insight, and we do help each other quite a lot. And I think that's what's helped us now take on more people and just really just help people overall, because we've both got our own knowledge as well. So like B will call up for me with acne, and what do you do for someone with this? So, and I'll ask you about health anxiety, because I don't. I'm always we're always learning anyway, but I think just to help that with that extra information, it does really help.
And not to be scared to like reach out sometimes, like, the story, the way we met literally over Instagram, and we built a really nice friendship together. And also we created not quite successful businesses here. We started selling functional testing and helping people to really get to the root causes of their health issues. I think not being scared and afraid to reach out to people as well. And if sometimes you have to go and find the paid paid help, that is also an option when you're building your business up. Obviously not everyone's probably as fortunate as we are to have a best friend who's also working in the same industry, but that's that's sort of, if you really want to have a successful practice, having someone there to support you is really, really important.
Yeah, I agree. Just on to the next one. Oh, I forgot we finished. Well, we just want to say thank you for everyone who's joined and listened today to us rambling on about social media, but we really hope you found it informative, and we really hope that you can take these tips that we've suggested from our own personal journeys and you can implement them into your social media. And of course, we'd love to see you all grow around us as well. So that's the whole idea.
And come back tomorrow as well, because we're going to share even more tips.
More about tomorrow's going to be more focused on testing a bit more, so that's look forward to that.
And tests.
Thank you so much both, that was so good. We have got a few questions that have now come in, but please everyone be aware that if you drop any questions in, everything's anonymous, so you can find the Q&A box on the control panel of your screen and drop any questions that you have for both Aisha and B. The first question that we've got is really pointing to what you've kind of just finished on. So this lady's just started her own business and she wants to know how to grow her business on social media without spending an awful amount of time on there, because it's not necessarily what she enjoys about the business. So social media might not necessarily be her thing. So what are your initial recommendations? She's finding it difficult to be consistent and to see the benefits.
Find a friend who's going to push you. Just joking. No, I think it's like discipline, like going to the gym. Now we don't like it from when we start, do we? But like having a little strategy. Okay, I'm going to post 3 times a week. I'm going to post this week, I'm going to post about good health, and I'm going to do 3 posts and just sticking to it. Posting the post, interacting with your followers doesn't have to be like mad amounts of time, just half an hour, let's say, to do the post and post it, and then interacting with people. Going on other nutritionist accounts and commenting on their posts also helps, because that brings engagement to your posts. So not being able to not being afraid to reach out to other people, not like sending them messages, but just like commenting, oh, this is great information, just reaching out to other people half an hour a day, if you I think that would be 3 times a week. That would be a great start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes not just about posts, it's also about you interacting with people in comments and things like that. It does so much for
absolutely. Social media is like, let's not forget, it's for connecting people. It's not just sharing your information, it's about connecting you with other people. And then it becomes like more fun, because when you see that there's actually people behind their accounts, you sort of like, okay, this is actually quite nice. I'm gonna comment on this person, and you can make friends. Like we made friends exactly like that. I was Instagram friends, as we call them.
But I'd also just put into that as well, like try to make it part of your daily routine, like you would do everything else. Once you start doing that and implementing it, it'll just become a normal habit to do. And then that's how, when you start to see people reaching out to you for inquiries, you'll immediately want to just carry on being consistent as well.
Absolutely. When you feel that you're getting something out of it, you will be more than likely. So at first it's a discipline, and then you sort of like start to feel like, okay, I actually can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just very similar to that, and it kind of links towards your love-hate relationship with Canva, I think, B, as well. So we've got someone here who feels really stuck because she feels like she's posting consistently. She feels like she's worked on her branding and she's trying to put variety into a post, but she's not seeing any growth. So for her, this is really important because, very like you two, she's relying on her social media for inquiries. She's not really sure where she's going wrong, and she's starting to then feel a bit uncreative, and that she must be doing something wrong. What would your kind of recommendations be? Like, what do you think the algorithm is favoring at the minute? Just any advice that you can give.
I would start reaching out to this. Like, I would just start reaching out, not reaching out, like commenting on other nutritionist posts, like literally creating connections with other people. When you start creating connections with other people are coming to your page. When other people are coming to your page, they're actually seeing, okay, this is interesting, I want more of this. Also, not thinking that we're all experts in what we do, but for other people who don't really know who we are, we're just like random account. So creating the content which is relatable can actually help. That's why sometimes I speak about my own experience. I suffered with loads of health issues, and I'm quite open about this. I don't really pretend that I'm perfect, so that can also help. Just like creating conversations, like when you feel that your Instagram is stuck, remember this is for people. So creating that like little connection with others can actually really help to get out of the feeling that you're really stuck. That's I've been to that place many times when I phone Aisha and I go, that's it, I'm packing it in, I can't do this anymore. But then sort of creating the connections really help.
Yeah.
But Aisha.
I know, I was just going to say that, like, make sure that you don't, like we discussed with colours and for Canva especially, I think people, from what I can see, they like these neutralized colours, nothing that's too, bit stark. It's a bit, for nutrition as well, it needs to kind of blend with what you do. So I like to keep my colours especially quite green, neutral, and it kind of syncs with it just syncs with me, like, and that people know me now for those. Like, if I post something random, like I do, one day cream, next day pink, people that when the post appears on your news, on your feed, when you open Instagram, they're not going to know that it's me. So just having that, maintaining that same branding, but keeping up with it and thinking that, does it look neat? Does it look clean? Is it a little bit aesthetically pretty? People like that sort of stuff. But just don't make the post too complicated, because people don't. I started doing that, making it very scientific and thinking it was, amazing. But I realized that the audience isn't going to understand these scientific words. Things like that, for example, but don't make it like childish either. Just make it where it's understandable and people can reach out and say, oh yeah, I've got this issue. Can I book in for a call? And that's how you start to create the inquiries. So yeah, but consistency in that way is important.
And just following on from consistency there, so you had another question about finding the balance in terms of sharing content. So when you talked about sharing your own journey, whether that's like your skin, so you're sharing content around your personal journey. In terms of consistency and then again favouring the algorithm, what is the balance? Should you be, posting once a week about your personal journey and then dotting something else in? Should it be that every week that changes? What do you think?
Obviously, you don't want to show a pity party all the time, but I think when you're starting off, I think for people to recognise who you are and you've actually gone through a particular journey with your own health, then it's important that, like Bea said, don't be shy to share it. I think it's good for people to understand that, like sharing like your old pictures. Like I've got some pictures of my skin when it was really bad, but when people see that to seeing what it is now, they're just amazed that can nutritional therapy actually do this. So that's how you get people to then realize that, yeah, I've got this issue, I want help. Because I get a lot of people who come to me and they've been to dermatologists, they've been to GPs, but they're not getting the answers that they want. So they've obviously come to us for a reason, to help them naturally get better. And then, introducing the testing into this as well, people really, you can offer quite a lot to them because they can see for themselves what's not working from the stool test, for example. So when they see that, they can also understand that, yeah, I've got this, okay, I need to work on this, but they also need us to guide them. So sorry if I went off tangent there, but I'm just
well, like, what was the question?
Okay.
No, I think, for example, I share my own stuff when I feel like okay, people probably want to know, because I get asked like, so let's say I will share about adrenals, and then I'll go with my stories and I'm going to share my own journey, and I'll say, okay, listen, I've been through this and I know how it feels. Not to do it like that you constantly just talk about yourself, because that's not what people come to your page. They want to know you, who you are, for numerous of reasons, but they actually come to your page because they want help. However, the thing is, when you're sharing your posts or your stories, don't actually give them the advice. Talk about the pain points, but not give the advice, because it's like unsolicited advice, isn't it? They sort of want to know, but if you start giving your advice straight away, then there's no point for them to book a consultation. So finding that balance between talking about problems but not really giving the full answers is probably, what your page should look like if you want to become a successful practitioner.
Yeah,
I'd say, just to add to that, sorry, I'd say like if you were to talk about your own journey, I'd say like 2 or 3 times a month is probably more than enough if you wanted to share that. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't do it, no.
And then just a question on your niche. So as you mentioned, you kind of started with a niche and moved on as you kind of built your pages. What do you recommend for the people that have not necessarily got their own niche? They might not have their own initial story to tell. Where do those people start?
Just start from where you are. Just start from where you are and just like decide, okay, so I don't really have a niche, so just start sharing general health conditions, and probably see what your followers are more interested in and just share more of it. Just literally follow what your followers are more interacting with, and then you will reach that point where actually your follower, what they're interested, who they are, and then finding that, it's called ideal client, if we can call it that way. So it's just like following that lead if you literally don't know what you're doing. But I, for example, think that sometimes just like creating what do you want to work with and just like molding it into your page.
Yeah, starting with what you and then building on from that.
Yeah, because I was talking about like looking into your insights as well. If you can post at least about 40 posts, you'll get an idea from your insights what your audience and your followers actually like from that, and that's how you can then realize, okay, they like gut more. You can kind of just focus your page a bit more around gut, but you're not going to know from just posting like 6 posts. That's too early to say. So you need to be posting for a while in order to gauge that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got a question here on static versus video content. So this person doesn't find that her static posts are doing very well in comparison to like reels. How does she create more engagement with those static posts? Or maybe she move away from
if your reels are doing better, concentrate on your reels. You don't have to do well on everything. just that's not how Instagram works. If your reels are doing better, do reels. Aisha's posts do better, so she does more of the posts. Mine is more probably a mix of everything. So when it depends what I'm doing, you know, strategically with my page at that point, I will share a reel and maybe 2 posts, or 2 reels, 3 reels, and then 1 post, and mixing them together just to make my feed look pretty. I know this might sound mad, but Instagram is, you know, it has to look pretty. So if your reels are doing better, just go all in with reels. You don't have to really post static posts. You can literally do reels as long as they are connected to what you want to do, basically, you know, create it's not about only creating the following, it's also about creating a client list, you know, client.
I was just going to say that,
Yeah,
you need to get what you want to, the purpose of it, of all of everything, the static, the real, is to make sure that a person can look at that and think, yeah, they want to reach out. Even you might get people, like when we first started, so many people messaged us, but then didn't want to buy into what we did because they have to trust you. They've got to trust what you post. And then honestly, with time, I can assure you, you will get your clients from your posts. Definitely.
And then a question here directed towards you, Aisha. So you mentioned before that you were from the UK and you've moved away. How have you found gaining new clients and followers as you've moved away? Do you predominantly still have UK clients, or have you been able to grow that with moving?
Both. The answer to that is both. So my location now on my account is Dubai. So I get now a lot of the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and I've also managed now to bring the testing over here as well, to the point where I can sell them to this part of the world, because people, you know, they don't know about it over here. And just, yeah, sorry, what was the question again? Sorry, I've gone blank.
So you moved over to Dubai. How have you found like building your clientele over in Dubai, being from?
So I tend to, I've gone to like a lot of events over here. I've gone to like networking events, and I feel like that really does help, because what I do isn't really common here. Like it is in the UK, but I do all of my consultations online. So I like to, when I first moved here, I socialize quite a lot, so people can get to know what I do. And just through that, I actually got clients just by meeting people and going to, like, I signed up to every event you could think of. And I thought, why not? Because yeah, I'm going to try and push. And I also put on my stories that I've moved, and I'm having my location set here as well. People come to my account, and anyone this part of the world will reach out to me. Well, I hope they want to reach out to me anyway. So I try my best, but I still see UK as well. Yeah, both.
And then a question for either one of you. So what proportion of followers would you say that you each see actually converting into clients? Have you noticed that shift over time?
I mean, mine's like, honestly, it's really busy now. It's sometimes, that's why I know I was talking about consistency, and I'm really sorry to say this, but I haven't posted in 10 days, and I'm embarrassed to even say that, but it's been non-stop. It's gone really, really busy. And then I remember when I first started, people would say like, you're not going to make it like just through social media. There's no way. But I feel that social media is mainly where my clients come from these days. And I think, you know, not thinking that, oh no, it's just not gonna happen. It will happen. You just need to keep consistently. And this is another thing, when you stop sometimes if you stop posting, it takes about 6 weeks for clients to drop. So you know, you just need to constantly post and then never stop, really, like I did with them 10 days.
But just don't lose hope, and just believe and trust the process, because trust me, we've gone through this. I've had days as well where I literally want to pack in everything. I just can't. And then there might be people who message you, and then they want to ask all these questions. They want free advice, and ultimately they don't buy into what you do. But then just with
free advice, just no go.
No, then just like B said, be consistent and posting. People get to understand you, and then yeah, as you can see, we both got like over 400 posts. So we haven't built this overnight. It's took us a long time to get to this point, because people want to see your style, what you do, how you they just resonate more with you. And then you'll realize that you will eventually build into that, and you will get clients from it.
Yeah. Because that's actually follows on to another question. So someone's asked how long it's actually taken you to grow your following to this point. I know both of you are like 10,000 plus now. How long has that taken?
Well, I started my account when it's really started growing, probably when we started working with Aisha, really. So 2 years, is it? Two years or there or thereabouts.
Mine's about 2021 I started.
Mine, at least, I know that mine started growing to the extent it's grown to now, like since we started working together, because it was constantly like sharing the ideas of what we're doing now, or how does this work? Okay, did that work well? Okay, I'll try this. No, it didn't work for me. I'll try something else. So there was a time when I was sharing in the summertime, my son was in the hospital. I just went totally off the social media. I just was gone for about a month, I think. And when I came back in September, I could literally feel like it was just like, there was no engagement. I felt like I was starting fresh. So that 6 weeks period again, in October, I was busy again. So not giving up and like thinking, oh no, it's not going to work. It does work. If you consistently do things, it does work. But the question was how long it took, about 2 years.
Did you kind of feel that was a consistent growth, or did you have bursts of loads of followers, then nothing, and then a couple more, or is it completely like?
Well,
we're quite consistent with Aisha, aren't we?
Well, so I was just going to say, so when I moved as well, I was off Instagram for 5 months, literally, and then Bea said to me, she was like, you need to get back on, you have to, because what are you doing?
Just literally, you're getting back on Instagram, like I need my bestie back.
So I was actually off Instagram in 2022 for 5 months, and I could really feel the change, how I literally lost so many followers, and I didn't have the drive. But now we both now put our heart and soul into our account, because when we now see a difference and it works for us, we know that, okay, this is what is going to help us moving forward, and we want to make sure that we provide and share the best knowledge that we can to everyone that follows us, because we don't want people to follow then unfollow, and then, I mean, that happens anyway, but you can't please everyone. So
yeah. And then we've got just 2 more questions before we finish the session today. So someone here's also asked, what about Facebook and LinkedIn? Is it necessarily a priority for you, and do you have any advice around that?
I tried to do a LinkedIn account a few times, and for some reason I can't do that, so I can't share. Maybe Aisha is better on this one. With Facebook, obviously there's a lot of things in Facebook, and sometimes the groups can bring you clients, and that's something what you could possibly do. For me, it's a no. I just don't feel it's right for me and the way I see my business growing, so I'm probably not the best to answer, so I'll give this to Aisha.
No, to be honest, there's like an option on Instagram where you can also share to Facebook, Twitter, and I can't remember that there's one more, I think. But when I found that Instagram platform, like TikTok is another one, I just, first and foremost, time to understand the platform. But because I dedicated my time to Instagram, yeah, I don't really get much from Facebook. And my Facebook account is linked to my Instagram account, but I don't physically post. I just, when I share my posts on Instagram, they also share to my Facebook. So I might get an inquiry that way, but it's very rare.
Yeah, and I think it links again to, you, like you said, finding what works for you. If you're getting a lot of clients through Instagram and that's where they know to find you, then that works. Then just stick with that, I guess.
Yeah.
Stick with what works for you. That is the best probably motto of the whole thing.
And then last question before we finish up the session today. What time of day do you find that works better posting? Is this just another one where it's find what's consistently a good time for you and then that will work, or?
So for me, what I found is I stuck to, first and foremost, the days. So I always do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I haven't posted today, but yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is what I usually do, and I don't do Tuesday, Thursday. I think because I read something as well about this, that if you post on particular days for your account and you continue to do that, it will benefit you eventually. And time-wise, I don't know a lot about the timing, but what I do normally do is I post at very similar times on those days as well. I don't do it like in the evening, or I don't do it first thing. I try and do it like midday, between like 12 and 2. That's when I tend to post.
Great. Like when
for me, I post when, when it's good for me, really. I don't stress about the posting times too much, as long as the post is engaging and I'm able to tell the people what I want to say. This is what I concentrate more so, because, obviously in the nighttime, you don't want to post at 3 a.m. because no one's going to be online, or not the clientele you want anyway, probably. So just like, let's stick to the work hours, probably.
Well, B is like, sometimes she'll ring me and I'm like, she's like, oh, I've just posted. I'm like, I'm going to bed now.
Yeah,
you
like,
check
sometimes if I have like a really busy day and I feel like I need to get this post done, I sometimes can post at 7 o'clock, which is not a bad thing, because a lot of people, they're chilling in the night, in the evening, and they go through their phone, and then sometimes it can work. So for me, that works, but I don't tend to post like 3 a.m. in the night time. That's not advisable, really.
people want to spend time on being nutritional therapist Instagram and they're having their dinner.
You had to think, especially.
Literally.
Well, thank you both so much. Thank you everyone that's joined us for this afternoon session. We hope that you've enjoyed today's webinar. Thank you, Aisha and B, for your time and your resource. So we'll be meeting again tomorrow at the same time, 12 o'clock, and we'll be going over kind of the functional testing from a clientele perspective, how to kind of communicate that with your clients, how it works and how it's worked for Aisha and B.